distant worlds to the final frontier, our imagination.
And we are live for the special. We're finally here, and we've got some candles. And Endy is trying to be the voice of reason, but this episode that we are reviewing...
Two of you have candles, and...
Yes, this episode that we're reviewing, Sub Rosa, has been on my hit list for a very, very long time to review. But no one has been brave enough to do that until today. As per usual, I am joined by Endy, and I am joined by the super special guest that is our comms champion, Kris, who has absolutely dressed to impress this Obsidian Day. If you haven't seen it, he was dressed as Riker for the Star Trek Adventures game that we've literally all played, which is why we are slightly late. And now he is he is dressed as Beverly Crusher with his candle.
I'll get used to this having hair along.
Yes, but how are you both doing today? How have you enjoyed Obsidian Day so far?
Amazing.
Obsidian Day so far has been great for me. Yeah. It's been a time. Thank you to Cypher for running Star Trek Adventures.
Yes, it was absolutely amazing.
Thank you to our two presenters earlier. No?
Yes, and we've had previously before.
And even though... I was going to say, and also thank you to Duloc for running STO that we were part of.
Yes, that's still running. Yeah. Star Trek Online is still running, I think, by the looks of things. But yes, so we've had a panel from Adrian, Adrian? Apologies if I'm getting the name wrong. But yes, he was running a panel on diplomacy and how to use them in our writing. And then we've had Paul, who ran a panel on AI and how we can use that responsibly within our writing. And then obviously we have just had 3.5 hours of Star Trek Adventures, which has been absolutely amazing. And now we have the most unhinged episode of Fleetcast that we are possibly going to have. So I feel like I need to have the disclaimer up. I need to say our disclaimer. Our disclaimer is basically, we are not here to upset anybody. These are our opinions. If you don't like it, that's fine. Just move along. You don't need to engage us. But yes, this episode of Sub Rosa. Okay, do you guys want to tell me your feels on me making you watch this episode to review?
Do you want to go first, Endy, or should I?
You go first. You're the guest.
Oh, so I've seen it before, and I absolutely love it. It's stupid, it's silly, it's not normal Trek. I know a lot of people hate it, but it's one of them ones where it's just like, this is mental. This is like a fever dream. Is this really happening? Trek.
Yes.
And that's what I love it for.
Mm-hmm.
Just how weird and different it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying I love it.
Yeah. What about you, Endy?
I've also obviously seen it before, more than once, unfortunately. And yeah, it's madness because it's in the season 7 slump. It comes right after Homeward. It's, you know, this is not Trek at its best. Thankfully, it's not Trek at its worst, but this is not a Trek episode.
Yes.
It's a gothic romance.
Yes, and this is the point I want to make as a female Trek fan. This is actually one of my favourite episodes, and I know this is going to be like shock horror to some people, but this is actually one of my favourite episodes that I possibly shouldn't have watched at such a young age. I remember watching it when I was far too young. You know, Trek was on BBC Two at 6:45 every single weeknight, apart from Fridays, because that was when Robot Wars was on. But this episode is one of my favourite The Next Generation and overall all episodes of Star Trek, because it is so different. It is Star Trek trying to be gothic, and I live for it. This is, as I've said, this is one of my favourite episodes, and you are going to see my passion in this episode. But yes, I think we need to get into the review and what happens, because this episode starts in a completely different way to what you would expect. You know, it doesn't start really on the ship. It starts on the planet below. It starts in a colony. You are at a funeral. You're at the funeral of Grandma Howard.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're like, oh, who is this funeral for? And then I think we need to talk about the fact that it's a colony, right? This colony is a little bit different from the colonies that we've seen before, because it is just so Scottish.
Well,
Yeah.
that was intentional, they said, because they did bring pieces of Scotland from to this planet.
Yes.
Just to terraform it.
Yes.
And I love how they comment just briefly, oh, this is one of the earliest terraforming projects, century ago.
Yeah. But I just need to comment on the fact that it is so stereotypical Scottish. And as someone who is, you know, one generation away from Scotland, you know, my nan is from Perth in Scotland, and I get a bit upset over the fact that it is just so stereotypical, because they could have gone a completely different route with it. But they have things.
Irish?
Yeah, they could have gone Irish, but they wouldn't have. But they wouldn't have in this time, because you've got to remember, this was around the time of the Troubles. So you got to remember, we've had episodes that are edited for British viewers because of the Troubles. You know, they had, I think there's an episode where they mention Ireland's unification. Well, that
was banned, wasn't it?
That episode, well, they've edited it so that it doesn't mention it, or it could be banned completely. I can't quite remember the law around that, but we have that episode.
That episode.
And I just think this is, and I don't mean this badly, Endy, but this is such an American view of Scotland.
No, you're absolutely right.
It's 100% that, and it really, really frustrates me ever so slightly that it is such an American view of it.
Well, you're right. It's an American view, and it's not just American. California, I'm going to go with.
Okay.
Because here in this area, okay, I'm only 3 generations removed from Scotland. Okay? I'm also only a generation removed from Ireland. So, you know, I have more of that than, let's say, someone who's out in California and their family's been here for a while.
Yeah.
Jerry Taylor or some of the others. So it is definitely that California writer in Scotland and on the UK as a whole.
Yes, it was just such an odd approach, and then to make it Crusher's backstory that, you know, her family had come from there. It just it's not mentioned before this episode that she comes from Scotland, or like her ancestors come.
Not once.
And it kind of just ever so slightly. This is the only point in this episode that really, really bugs me.
Well,
but I think it's more a personal thing because I'm British, and, you know, that type of thing.
Actually, speaking of Bev's family in this episode, I actually don't like. This is one thing I don't like about a lot of Jerry Taylor's writing, and that goes across Next Generation, DS9, Voyager. How very episodic she is with the characters that she has. Because, again, this is season 7. So we've just had Inheritance, where Wesley has gone off with traveling.
Yeah.
And there's no comment in the episode because this is something that I think should have been given as a line to Deanna. Dealing with, she just lost her son, traveling, and now she's just lost her grandmother. So it makes sense that Beverly is feeling that grief.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And I do think this, ever so slightly, some of the things that are in this episode are down to poor writing, but I just love this episode. This episode is just, for me, it's Trek at its best, and the stories that I like in Trek. And I know people are going to come after me. You can come after me. That's fine. I will deal with you. Okay?
I'm not going to come after you, but I will say that, yeah, that's the problem. Jerry Taylor writes good stories when they are taken only on their own face value.
Yeah.
Not as part of a series. And I mean, I when I saw who was directing, it was just like, wait, how? What?
Yes, I think
No.
we need to get into who directed this episode before we get into any further, because this was actually something I think I'd forgotten, because I didn't remember it until we were talking about, doing this episode. I forgot that he directed this episode. This is not Frank's at his best. I don't know where he was or what he was doing, but this is definitely not him at his best. Yes. And Kris is doing an absolutely epic example of Frank's and what he must have been doing for half of this episode. Don't get me wrong, his direction and the scenes that have been created in this episode are, they're grand, they're really good, but I don't understand why he chose this episode.
Yeah.
It just,
I mean, this is definitely...
I haven't been able to find any research or anything at any point that I've been looking into this about why he actually chose this.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple points where I feel that the direction goes a little bit sideways, and there's one thing that I definitely dislike about this episode, because that was what made me start thinking, wait, who directed it? And then go back and look at it in the beginning. Was I realized Riker is not in the episode at all.
He's not. No, that's pretty true, because obviously back in those days they didn't do the directing and the acting. Nowadays it's done because they do it in different slots and things like that. But yes, so we've got this episode. Obviously, they are down at Kalados and they are at the funeral of grandmother Howard, and Beverly's there. She's with some of the crew of the Enterprise, and they're around the gravesite, and Beverly catches sight of a stranger. There is a mysterious man.
What I might do are the best formal uniforms of TOG. Just want to say.
Yeah, it's a good uniform. I did like the uniform in this episode. It was very basic in their formal uniform, which I kind of like. There isn't any grand, about it. It is literally just a longer version of the uniform. There's less having to pull the uniform down constantly.
Yes.
But yes.
And there's no gown on it either.
Yes.
That's the ones.
I'm not entirely sure who's in the YouTube alongside me. I'm not sure if it's Paul or John. Because there's comments and I'm not typing them, so I'm guessing it's probably going to be Paul. Hi, Paul. But he's stuck in Obsidian Fleet mode. I can see, and you've just scared me. So thanks.
Yes.
But yes, so we're at the, Felicia Howard, and then obviously during the burial, there is a stranger. Ooh, it's Neva, so it's Kris. Hi, Dulac.
Hello, Dulac, yes.
Oh, no.
No? Wait, if it's not Kris, if it's not Paul, if it's not Dulac, if it's not Kris, because we would see him typing. Yes, Mystery Ghost, how appropriate. Thank you, Phoebe.
There's only 4 people.
But yeah.
Kris, man.
It is Kris. Oh.
The stress levels that you've just caused me, Kris, you know.
Don't give this woman a heart attack. We need her.
I'm a woman on the edge already, please. But yes. So
we need this woman in one piece.
Yes. So let's leave my levels a little bit lower. Thank you. But yes, so they are at the burial. You know, they've got the mysterious stranger. And then I'm going to throw up the next image. There we go.
When we see him come in.
We finally get to see him with his long, luscious hair.
Also, can I just ask, was anyone else weirded out by the fact that a guy who is supposedly a Scottish ghost has a Japanese name?
Yeah, I got that.
I didn't really notice, to be fair.
I thought it was with Andy's accent, but...
Yeah.
See, the accents in The Next Generation are a bit dodgy anyway, because you've got Patrick Stewart, who is meant to be a Frenchman, who's got a very an upper English accent. So, you know, I just took it as the universal translator.
But he was born in 1647 in Glasgow. Have you ever heard a Glasgow accent like that?
No. It would be Glasgow. But
Glasgow.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he shows up. But honestly, not a bad actor. Just wish he'd been in things that showed him better. And anything would do better.
Yeah, it was an interesting start to the episode, and then obviously we've got Beverly, who then goes back to her grand's place to grab the mementos and stuff. And it's just this episode kind of just froze me, because I'm like, Deanna goes with Beverly to the house.
Yeah.
And she just doesn't pick up on anything weird.
No, like I mean, literally, I titled the image appropriately. This is not a Deanna gets a vibe episode.
Yeah, and it's really not. But we do have the first appearance of the candle.
Of the candle, yep.
Hey.
Yes, that's Billy Candle. Honestly, though, I think I recognized the prop from somewhere. I think it was used in DS9 as a thing later on.
It could have been because they...
Who originally lit it? Because she walks into her grandma's old home after she's just died, being buried. You walk into the house, there's a fire lit, the candle's on.
I took it as the ghost.
I took it as Quint, lighting the fire in the fireplace. The candle is...
But why did he light the candle?
He didn't. Bev lit it, or she just never... Or Quint never snuffed it. But I think he must have lit the fire. So Bev does immediately go to the fireplace, which, can I just ask? It's the 24th century. We have weather regulators, and the governor later says it's summer. Is it common for you guys to have a fire going in the summer?
Yeah.
Have you seen the weather in summer?
This is the one thing I don't have any bother with. This is the United Kingdom in
a fire going in the summer.
Yeah, it's. Well, I'll give you an example of today. So 9 o'clock, it was absolutely beautiful sunning. 9:15, pouring with rain. 11 o'clock, sunny again. 1:45, pouring with rain. Rinse and repeat. You know, that has been our day, all day.
Okay, see, I have not had rain in a while, and it's 86 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, no. Our weather goes up and down, up and down. But Kris, you've got a perfect example, because it's your house.
Yeah. I'm busy. I was just going to say, I actually wrote notes and stuff on this, right? And one of my notes is, it's when the governor's talking to Data and Geordie. He says, there's no rain this time of year. We've got a caber toss event this afternoon. It's Space Scotland. What they're talking about. Of course there's rain.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, of course there's rain. It's just
You get
Yeah,
4
so-
seasons in a day here.
Yeah, so yeah.
yes.
So it's not illogical. This is I have no issue with this part of the episode and the fact that
Okay.
we've got the
Okay.
weather. It's Space Scotland. It's not
Yeah,
going to be an issue. But obviously, Crusher, you know, she finds her grandmother's diaries and she takes the
Yes.
mementos back to the ship.
Yes,
And-
MacGuffin number 2, she finds.
Yes, and she starts reading them.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're the only woman live right now.
Yeah.
And you know, in the chat, if you saw your grandmother's diary after she died, said you wouldn't put that on YouTube. But if you saw your grandmother's diary after she died, would you pick it up and start?
I'd probably
Kind of. If I didn't know her.
Yeah, I would probably pick it up because, you know, someone's got to destroy the evidence.
But why not just throw it into the fire? That's
No.
right.
If you're gonna get dirt on the grandma, you're gonna have to start reading the diaries, man. You're gonna have to. But I think from a point of view of Beverly, and this character, she would want to know more about her grandmother. You know, she knew her grandmother growing up, and obviously she wouldn't have been as involved in her day-to-day life since she was probably, you know, early 20s, if not even earlier, if she went to, you know, Starfleet Academy and Starfleet Medical.
Academy Medical.
You know, she wouldn't have been involved in her day-to-day life. She'd want to know, and I think they make that quite clear that obviously she's doing that because she wanted to know what her grandmother had been up to, because obviously later on when it comes out that obviously she was involved with Ronan, who is 34. You know,
Yeah.
she's very shocked, she's very taken aback that her 100-year-old grandmother was involved with someone who was, you know, 65 years younger. You know, she was kind of very, very surprised that there was no, you know, there would have been no communication over this.
Yeah.
The person managed to defend a bunch of people from beyond the grave. I've got no idea what that's in connection to, Phoebe.
Her grandmother's. No, it's her grandmother's diary.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. This actually happened in my family, and there was some debate about whether or not to read someone. We read it, and the person managed to offend a bunch of people from beyond the grave. It was great. Okay, now I understand. I've caught up. Yeah, it makes sense to read the diary. And I think let's have a little bit of a community vote here. Would you read the diary? It's not a smart diary. It's just a diary. Would you read the diary of your dead family member? No. Endy says no. Kris says yes. What about people in the chat?
Yes.
Kris, man. Let's have a. Well, I'm guessing Phoebe's going to vote yes. Yes, especially if it was a smart diary.
If it was a
Okay,
smart
fair enough.
diary, yeah.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Okay, so July, what's your vote? And Alex.
They might have gone because no one seems to be logged into the
Some-
account. But yes, if you are just catching up, probably not. Okay. That's fine. I think there is a clear design that the Brits are a little more invasive of people's personal space, which is ironic, really, because we're normally a bit more upper class and a bit more stiff upper lip and stuff. But yes,
Oh,
so yeah, so I don't have issue with the fact that the diary was read.
okay. Do you have issue with the fact that she was turned on by it? And that Picard was turned on by her talking about it?
Yes, this was, but this
Weird
scene,
grunt.
yeah, this scene I do have some small issues with, but I don't now that we've seen Picard season 3.
I don't know that, but
See, I used to have issues with it.
Mhm.
But now I know what happens afterwards, what happens between the next generation and Picard. It kind of makes a bit more sense to me.
In all
Some
the
of
things
these,
it shows them divorce.
yeah, some of the issues that I did have issues with previously, I don't anymore.
Okay. Yeah. So we get Quint blowing out the candle
Yes.
and giving his overly Scottish warning, if anything, about the ghost. And I'm sorry, there is no other way to say it. He speaks in aggressive Scottish.
Glaswegian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame Crusher at all for being aggressive towards him. So he just storms into a house, blows a candle out, and says, "Oh, I'm nicking this."
Right? Yeah. And where was he going to throw it? What was he going to do with it?
Yeah, exactly. He just wanted the weird ghost boyfriend to himself.
Yes. Obviously, this whole part is just really, really quick, and it's just really strange because obviously then Quint goes, "There's a ghost in here. There's a ghost in here. There's a ghost in the house," and he's like, "She should leave immediately. You need to leave, and that you should never light the candle ever again." And it's one of those warnings that you're like, well, no, she's not going to listen to you. She's not going to listen to you because you've just done that.
Also, it's like, instead of saying, "Hey, I've been taking care of your grandmother. Something killed her. She didn't die naturally."
Yeah.
And I think it's connected to that candle, which would have been the right thing to do. He starts going on about ghosts and so on, which is why this is not a Star Trek episode.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it, but it is still Star Trek. It's just a bit Scottish and a bit gothic. It's yeah.
And and then I have in here, I don't know if you're going to show the image of the planet. It looks like a meteor hit that planet. I swear. That planet looks like it's in rough shape.
Yes, but this is obviously the start of the fact that we have weather control issues, and obviously the colonists are asking for help, and the Enterprise are more than happy to help. They've got a couple of extra days, but this whole episode could have been solved if they left at this point. We would not have had the weird ghost experience if they just left.
Or if Ned had just knocked and said, "Oh, hello, I'm sorry your grandma died. She's got a ghost in that candle. Watch out. All right, see ya."
Plain and simple. Or less the Scottish approach.
Well, even if he'd been the same, "There's a ghost in this house," if he knocked first and then barged through.
Yes.
Instead of making Bev look like she was about to, ready to phase her.
Yes. And it's just such a weird approach to it, but it does make me laugh every time I watch this episode because some of the scenes are just so funny. Obviously, we've also then got the fact that Beverly starts hearing the voice of the ghost. And obviously, Kris is gone.
Yeah.
No, I'm still here.
Oh,
and Sep came in.
That's why Sep get out. Sep get out.
There we go.
You messed it. He messed up the screen, man. He knows.
Ouch.
He knows better. So's every house we imported from Scotland, you fool. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's true. Our houses are quite old, so yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
But that is funny.
It's like every cornerstone in this colony came from Scotland, and you wonder why everything is haunted.
Yeah.
It's not like it became unhaunted when it came to space.
Yeah, it's all a bit odd, but yes. So we kind of slowly start to meet the ghost in the house, or the candle, should we say? Because
also,
obviously she's lit the candle.
Yes. And can I just say, after the thunderstorm, which is appropriately gothic, perfect timing for the thunderstorm,
Yeah.
the green light, the haunting cam in the house, right before Bev has her adult moment, shall we say,
Yeah.
was straight out of Evil Dead. The camera was just chasing her like right out.
This is what I mean. The work that did go into this episode is grand. You know, it made such a good gothic episode of Star Trek. It really was good. You know, you did get all those moments of, you know, the panic, the darkness. It was good, and I do love this episode. But there are some moments that are a bit controversial. You know, you've got the moment where, you know, Beverly's getting undressed in her sleep. You know, you've got the moment that Picard grunts. You know, you've got some moments that are very controversial, and if the episode was filmed now, they wouldn't be there. They very much wouldn't be there. But then obviously we've got the house filling up with the flowers, which I love, because you've kind of got a blink moment and they're there. And obviously you've got the old mirror scare, which I absolutely love.
Yes. And then Bev gets herself 7 years of bad luck, which is why for the next 7 years she ends up married to Picard.
But they don't get married, do they? They don't get married.
You're right. That was only in all good things.
Yes.
But yeah, Beverly earns herself 7 years of bad luck by breaking the mirror. Then again, considering the year she's had already, what's the difference?
Yeah. It's just awkward. But then obviously we get more involved in Ronan and the fact that he is here. Oh no. There we go. We disappeared for a second. Yep. We've got Ronan, and obviously he appears, and they have a really, really intense relationship in like
creepy moment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know, there is such an intense, like, it's just so intense. Like I can't even work out if this happens in like 24 hours or 48 hours.
Yeah. I assume that this is over the course of like 2 days total, but I swear, Beverly just, there's no other way to say it. Beverly spontaneously orgasms when he touches.
Yeah, it's
words I didn't expect me to get Endy say.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yes.
It is
very gothic. Yeah, Phoebe, you nailed it. Yes, very gothic novel.
It is, and that's what they set out to do with this episode, and I think that is why it gets so much hate. It's because it's not the usual style, and people can't cope with the fact that it's not the usual style of Star Trek, and that's his biggest flaw. I don't necessarily think it's designed for the usual Star Trek fan. You know, the ones that watch it in, week week out for the pew-pews and the, you know, I don't know what else.
No, this is definitely one for the ladies.
Yeah, and this is why I am here for it.
I mean, the ladies, I mean, understand, it was women who got Star Trek back on TV for season 3. It was women who got the movies made, you know. So, I mean, I'm here for it. It's just, God, there's some creepy shit.
Yeah.
But then we cut back to the Enterprise in the failed attempt to make this feel like a Star Trek episode. And the one connection between this and the animated series episode that's going to be tomorrow, there's fog on the bridge.
Yes.
Like, what the hell? You know, anytime there's been fog on the Enterprise bridge, there's a problem. Because, I mean, yeah. You were saying, Kris?
Fog on the Chainsaw Mine.
But yeah, and it's the only picture where I put the governor in, because this is the only time that he's even relevant to the plot of the episode.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks, because he's an interesting character and I want to know more about it. But he's totally irrelevant.
I just want to go back to the comments a second, because obviously some people have, saying things. It kind of took the Gothic novel, but a really bad photocopy of one, and said, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it was written for all the people who worked on Trek day in, day out, and really relieved to have something different. Yeah, 100%. And then Kris has carried on with, but you couldn't read half the text and the rest was filled with crayon. Yeah, like someone explained a Gothic novel to people who had never read one before.
And your new tag team champions, Red Shirt Man.
Yes.
This guy. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it did kind of feel like this is kind of how they threw in a couple of different characters. This was the only way that they could get Geordi and Data involved in this episode, because obviously they'd already lost Riker to directing, so they had to throw in them here, and this is kind of how we've got these characters in. But it doesn't fit. We could have done without this part, and having the weather systems fail. I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think again that's one of Jerry Taylor's kind of things.
Yeah, and we've got the scene off from the bridge. That are they having a hurricane?
Yeah,
well, yeah, it's all green, and it's not like a hurricane that I've ever seen, but it'll do.
Yeah.
I think we've lost Endy. I think.
Oh
no, there we go.
I noticed as well. Oh.
Yeah, it looks more like a tornado on it, to be honest.
Which is really ironic, because I am obsessed with the new film. What's it called? Twister.
Twisters?
If you haven't been on Atlantis server, you do not know my obsession with Glenn Powell at the moment. To the point that I have now found a t-shirt that says something along the lines of, we've lost Endy, so it's fine. But yes, so my obsession with Twister is well known. So
No, you are not doing video right now.
Your internet's gone, Endy, I think. But yeah, Phoebe, 100%, you get me when I'm talking about, and I think this episode kind of links in really well with that obsession this week. We need to watch that episode.
Yeah, Twisters was great.
Yes.
Twisters was great as a movie, yes.
Yes, but we're on about the new one, and the fact
that...
Yeah,
Twisters, yeah, that's the new one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, plural.
You should just say Glenn Powell's new film. It would be easier.
Oh, okay. I was more worried about the effects than about any of the actors.
No, we're good. Glenn Powell.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know who that is, so.
It's the main actor, the one with the cowboy hat, man.
Oh, okay, alright.
I love how Kris is trying to deny that he knows about it when he's seen all the conversation around it. But yes, it links in.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But it does link in to this to this movie, because obviously we've got the hurricane, the major storm systems, and then obviously we've got Geordi and LaForge go down to the planet, and they are attempting to fix the problem. But who did they find? Ned, the groundskeeper. He's there.
I mean, again, perfect Gothic novel fodder.
Yes. And we have obviously the moment where Beverly is still able to, she's still competent despite the fact that she is having this very, very intense relationship with a ghost.
With the guy who just murdered Ned Quint.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but yeah.
Well, the fact that she goes back to the house immediately and goes, Ronan, I need to talk to you.
Yes, this part kind of was a bit strange because obviously she it's really intense. Like this, I didn't realize until I rewatched it again, like today, just how intense this moment is. She's very passionate. She's very that's the correct word. She's very passionate in how she kind of does this, and it's really strange. It doesn't feel like it's Beverly. It doesn't feel like Beverly, but obviously it is Beverly, but it's this gothic.
It feels like it should be a Deanna episode.
Yeah.
The problem is that they've already explored Deanna's history and her family.
Yeah.
Her mother and her father, and that whole scenario. And in fact, Dark Page was just a few episodes ago in season 7, where we really get into Deanna's backstory.
Yeah.
So they can't pull this shit with her.
No, not at all. And obviously she then rushes back to the Enterprise with this candle in tow, and she's sat there on the bed and she's like rocking back and forth, and it's just
in my notes, the way that came off to me was not so much a lover or passionate lover,
obsession,
but rather an addict who needed her fix.
Yeah.
It wasn't even obsession; it was literally addiction.
Yeah.
100%
addiction. No, it's very much, and I'm just going to put obviously what happens after this, because obviously he appears and we then get the first showing of, well, it's not even the first showing, it's the first imagery of the green smoke, and it's just such a weird thing. Look, I've even got the weird smoke.
Yes, he turns into green smoke, and he enters Beverly all right.
Yes, he enters her, and it's definitely one of those weird ones that you're like, what the hell? Hi, Molly.
Hello, Molly. Thank you. You are pampered. Though.
Did you hear that?
No.
No, we didn't hear, but we saw.
Why on earth are you wearing a wig?
She's smart.
For anyone who doesn't know, he is being hand delivered margaritas, but they're a little bit salty, just a little bit too much salty, and he's just had a very, very dodgy experience there.
Maybe if
I'm going
the lady who was hand delivering could be on camera, she'd be less salty about it.
Yeah, and I am actually going to screenshot this moment and send it to her.
That's fine. It's on the internet now, so it's forever.
It's forever.
Exactly.
Yes. But then we get to the moment that I think even Picard was Patrick Stewart's acting in this moment, when obviously he goes to challenge Beverly, is absolutely epic. He is in such a confused state over the fact that Beverly has resigned her commission, and she's packed up and she's on the transporter.
Yes.
Yeah. Did they not have 2 weeks' notice and stuff?
Right? She just does it. And I'm sitting here going, wait, what? But,
it just...
Yes.
it just makes no sense that, you know, she's able to up and leave like that. Because in my job, I have to give a week's notice for a year that I've worked there. So I would need to give 9 weeks notice before I could leave.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. And she just dips.
She's the chief medical officer.
Mhm.
She literally just ups and leaves. But then we get the moment that I think Picard fell for Beverly proper, because she turns around and goes to him going, "So are you going to kidnap me then? I've resigned my commission. This is now kidnapping." And you could just see that, like, Picard's like,
Picard is thinking.
mm-hmm.
But the thing is, no, they've had a thing. I mean, all the way going back to The Naked Now in season 1, these two have been on again, off again, will they, won't they?
Yeah.
They've really been doing that. So it's not so much the moment that he fell for her, but rather it's the moment that he decided, I'm going to fight for this one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to win.
And boy does he do, because obviously she goes back down to the surface and,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
and goes for round 2.
Yes. Yeah,
Which,
and this time it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more.
Before, I believe, attached. Actually, no. Attached is before this. Attached is. One moment, please.
I don't know the order of the episodes.
Okay. On here, which is season 5 through 7, Attached is the end of disc 2 for season 7. This is the second episode of disc 4. So this is about a couple of months after. So yes, they've already had that through.
Yes, and I think, like you said, I think this is the moment where Picard realizes he wants to fight for Beverly, because he does. Obviously, he goes down to the planet, and he wants to meet the young man, who's stolen 2 Howard women's.
At least.
Well, at least they don't know this. He doesn't know. He doesn't know that this has been going on since did you say 1600s, is it?
He said 1600s, yeah.
Yeah.
Though I think he was actually lying.
1647.
1647.
Yes.
So, you know, there's at least, what, I would say 15 generations, if not more.
More in there. Yeah. And Beverly says all of the Howard women have green eyes, except her and her mother. And also, something that I just wanted to note that was dropped casually, her eyes turn green, and Picard says, "Oh, Beverly, did you change your eye color?" Like, is this a normal thing they can do?
It is. I think it is. I think,
That's
yeah.
what I thought.
Yeah, no, I think it is a normal thing that they can do.
Yeah, that's just amazing to me.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, because they have, like, they have things that they can do with genetics and things like that.
True.
I think changing the eye colour is probably pretty a standard thing. But yes, so we have.
Where's she doing that in Space Scotland?
She's the doctor down there now, isn't she? So.
Or the healer.
She's probably done it on herself, man. She's probably done it on herself.
She's the apothecary and healer.
Yes.
Yeah.
But obviously, Picard goes down to the surface, and obviously he meets Ronan, and then Ronan basically tries to off Picard, because that's what he does. You know, he's trying to off Picard, because Picard has found out that the reason that there is weather control issues is because of something in the graveyard, and he's given the order to go to the governor to get whatever is in the graveyard dug up, to find out and investigated. And obviously Ronan is fully aware of what this issue is, and and he tries to stop him, but Beverly says that she so, and this is the part where Beverly must be thinking, oh shit, what have I done here? Because she kind of flicks back to doctor mode, and obviously she saves Picard's life.
Yes, the moment that there's a medical emergency, he flips back to Doctor mode.
Yes.
Which, okay, she was willing to put up with a murder. Okay, maybe she didn't like Ned Quinn. I'll take it as she didn't mind him being dead because she didn't like him.
Yeah.
But still, it's a murder that happened in front of her.
Yes.
Like, come on.
And it's someone that she knows. You know, she's known Jean-Luc Picard for a very, very long time.
Oh, yes. And then, okay, I'm going to be honest. I don't know why Geordi went down to the planet. Aside from being the squishy. Because if only Data had been in that graveyard, Data could have stopped Ronan.
But he might not have been able to. He might not have been able to.
Yeah, but
because
he wouldn't have been zapped the way that Geordi got zapped.
But yes, but he could have been zapped, and we don't know what the zapping will do. Obviously, but I do find it really interesting that it is Data and LaForge digging up the gravesite of, you know, Felicia Howard. I find that really interesting because they are probably the most logical characters out of all the ones there. You know, it could have been anyone else and they would have had issues with it, but it was obviously these two characters. And yeah, it's really interesting that obviously happens. I'm not going to show the image of the graveyard and the moment, just because, yes, I like the edited one, but I don't like that one. It feels a bit.
Yeah.
Even though we know it's television.
Yes. Well, how about the fact that she wakes up, like literally Ronan revives a dead body?
Yeah, it's a bit. But the actress who plays Alicia Howard is absolutely amazing. She is absolutely epic in this episode. And I've seen something somewhere that originally they were going to have a different actress play the role. Yeah. But then they changed their minds because this actress was slightly older. Well, she looked slightly older. And obviously she was closer to the 100 that Grandma Howard was compared to whatever the age of this other actress was. But she did such a good role. You know, she kind of got flung back in that coffin. Like, you know, it wasn't a soft landing. She went back. What were your thoughts around this episode up to this point, Kris? Was there any moments sort of like in the last couple of scenes where you were like, ooh?
Yeah, I was surprised about the Grovok coming back alive. I didn't expect that to see in a Trek episode. Also, Beverly, I didn't expect her to be so thingy and full on. I'm glad she snapped out of it when Picard got hurt. But as I said again, I think that's why I like it, because it was so different and so mental. It was just a fever dream, and it just moved on so quickly. Like when what's he called? Quint, Ned Quint. When he died, it was just like, oh, he's dead anyway.
But this is what I mean. Those scenes around the weather control were obsolete. You know, they could have done so much more with the gothic feel of it.
I feel like though the thing with Quint, he must have been disliked widely in the colony.
Yeah.
Because I think that's about it. It's like, oh, he's dead. Ah, poor fucker.
I think he's very much that stereotypical caretaker character that you get in all gothic novels and stories, where he's just unlikable because he is the groundskeeper. He's very that gruff character that he's there for one purpose, and that is to unfortunately push the story on.
Groundskeeper Willie.
Yeah. You know, that very much that same type of character. But yes, I like how this episode ends and the fact that it's Beverly who ends this episode. Obviously, she rushes to the graveyard and she kind of yells at Ronan to stop, and she realizes that he is literally a parasite. You know, she 100% realizes he's a parasite, and she zaps the candle, and the candle is no more.
Yes. Taking back her agency with firing a phaser. I mean, this. You know what I actually was reminded of, oddly enough, watching this at this moment? Going back to animated theory, Mud's passion. When Chapel starts going after Harry Mudd, remember that episode? You know, it very much reminded me of the same thing, where it is a drug, and she is breaking it. She is sort of breaking out of that obsession. And it's that same kind of energy of, do not mess with a scorned doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a woman scorned is one thing. Doctor scorned is worse.
Yes. And yeah, you know, I liked how this episode ended, and it kind of ended with the women of the next generation having a discussion. You know, we've got Beverly, we've got Deanna, and they're obviously... Oh, that's the wrong image. Could they be more toxic? That's them together.
Yeah.
And then obviously...
Yes. No, these two are... Yeah, those two... Yes, he was toxic to the extreme. But yes, I agree with you, Phoebe. There's no point crying over spilt keepers. There's fog to navigate and work to be done.
That should be sort of the motto of Scotland, to be fair.
There's fog to navigate and work to be done.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
That is the motto.
Right.
But yes, so while we're officially not giving this episode a score because it's not in our little thing, it's a special. This is a special episode. What are your scores?
Who's first?
I give this episode a 4 out of 5 because it's one of my favourite. You know, if I gave it a 5 out of 5, I think several people will come after me. But
yeah, me too.
this episode cannot do any wrong other than the fact that it's Space Scotland, and I'm not a fan of that. That is the only thing that's wrong with this whole episode, in my opinion. And yes, the scores will be in candles. I don't have any images made for it because I wasn't doing scores, but I think you guys demand scores by now.
I think, and I'm going to go with, since we're going this direction, I guess, I'll go, honestly, 2 out of 5. It's not a strong Star Trek episode. It tries to be, okay? And the problem is that it tries to be too many things. It tries to be this gothic romance novel. It tries to be a horror novel. It tries to be a horror story. It tries to be a ghost story. And it tries to be Star Trek. And it doesn't balance. It's not that it's hard to watch, it's just that it's not a good episode. It's not one that I would suggest. And honestly, if we never get through TOS and start reviewing TNG and proper, I'm going to admit season 7 as a whole is pretty weak. I'm kind of glad that they ended it when they did.
Yeah.
Because as much as we all clamored for more, they left it where they did because had they tried to continue, we would have gotten less of Best of Both Worlds and more of Homeward and Sub Rosa and so on. They said what they had to say.
Yeah.
Over 7 years, they said what they had to say. And after this episode, you got Lower Decks, which is absolutely a great episode.
Lower Decks. Yes,
but this is the one with Cito Jackson and that one. You've got, Mask, got, Genesis, got Emergence coming in as well. So there are a couple of good episodes, but this is definitely part of a storm that makes all good things all the more impactful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely 2 out of 5.
And what about you, Kris? Seeing you were so disappointed with my score.
Well, you see, I really like it, but I don't think it's a good episode. So I'm going to say 4. 4. So it's the same. I was disappointed because you nicked me score, basically.
But we could.
That was the only reason.
Oh, Kris! But we could share the same number. You know, the amount of times that me and Ben on the Doctor
You can
Who
be
podcast have, you know,
Yeah.
we've come up with the same scores. You know, it's allowed. You don't need to be different, honey. It's okay.
Oh, yeah, no.
We're candle buddies.
And you've heard us with DAS.
Yeah.
Yes. Your score buddies, your candle buddies.
We're just
Your
joking.
thumbs up buddies on this episode 9.
But yes, this episode, it disappoints me because of Space Scotland, but it wasn't a bad episode, in my opinion. Is there anything either of you would like... Anything else that you would like to add, Kris, around this episode?
Yes, right. So, notes time, right? So I've got a bunch of facts that may or may not be true, because I got them from the internet, and I didn't verify them. So, this is the only time that references Beverly Crusher's Scottish descent in TNG anyway. So, what's the grandma called? The nana called again? Felicia?
Yeah.
Felicia.
Yep.
Felicia Howard.
Yes. So her death date makes her out to be 79 and not 100.
Yeah.
This is the one of 5 episodes that doesn't have a star date unless you watch it with the Netflix subtitles, which it does. It adds it in the subtitles. It doesn't actually say it. It had a working title of Passions, which I think weirdly suits it more.
Yeah.
I think
and
so
one
too,
that's
yeah.
not one that isn't on my list. So I prove I'm not doing it. The graves in the background of the opening scene has McFly from Marty McFly and Vader on it.
Yeah,
So-
I've
think
heard
there's
that
another
one
reference as
before.
well.
Yeah.
I think there's another one as well, but yeah, the McFly one is obvious, especially if you're looking at screenshots, even the ones that I did. The gravestone right next to where he's killed, so where Ronan is killed, is the McFly stone,
Yeah.
which seems appropriate. Space Scotland gets Marty McFly.
No. And there was a couple of... The reason why I didn't give it 5, which I know it would piss some people off, but it's like some of the direction was weird. Like when Beverly and Troy were having that weird conversation where Ronan was giving her weird eyes across the funeral procession, or when they were burying a grandma. Did you notice that there was people trying to rebury the grave while they were talking there?
Well, they were
So
putting
they're
dirt
just-
on it, but
Yeah, they were just talking about this guy, this hot 34-year-old is giving his eyes. It's just like they're burying your grandma just behind you.
Yeah. It did feel a bit. Yeah. So I can understand that view completely.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, this is, as Deanna says, this is the one piece of good advice and good counseling that Deanna actually does, maybe in all of TNG, but especially now. When she says, hey, you're grieving, and this guy is grieving. And two people who are grieving can meet up and think that they've fallen in love when really it's just shared grief.
To be fair,
And I kind of
Beverly, Troy does give good advice in this episode. She could have been a bit more.
Read 2 chapters.
She could have been a bit more proactive with Picard, saying something, but she didn't give bad advice. This is actually quite a good episode for Troy and showing how counselling and psychological therapies actually work.
Yes, I just wish she had used her abilities a little more.
I don't know if it actually explained it in episodes, but did you know why? I know that Ronan went after Beverly because there was some sort of genetic thing in their
Yeah.
family that made them compatible with the ghost thing anyway. But why did she fall for him so bad? Like it was like watching. Do you know when you're like 12-year-old and you have your first girlfriend or boyfriend and you're like, oh yeah, I love you after the first break at school
Yeah.
or recess or whatever.
Yeah.
It reminded us of that, and it was like, this is a bit weird.
I think it's never explained in the episode, but I think a lot of people have got their own headcanon around it, and my personal headcanon is very much to do with what he is as a species. I think it's very much like it's a feel good. He makes her feel good, and that is what she is looking for after the fact that she's just buried her nan. She's lost her son. It's very much he's playing on those weaknesses of her, and she's very much looking for her next hit.
Yes, and her next hit is absolutely the right term. Because I agree. It's definitely the way she reacts is more like a drug addict than a lover.
Yeah. Or as Phoebe put it, space pheromones. Yeah, that works too. But
space pheromones could do it.
So to
also, after they meet for real, the fact that he can just kind of induce certain things in her at random.
That's why I kind of think it's whatever he is, because we don't ever get to find out what he is properly, what type of species. All we know is he's this type of life form. We don't we don't ever get to know anything more than that. That's what he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of my favorite episodes. I have several favorite The Next Generation episodes that are very much on people's dislike list. But I am not ashamed of that, because all Trek is good Trek in my personal opinion. And
I believe your love code of honor.
that is season 1, episode 3 was a major misstep, and everyone involved even knew it at the time. So yeah, that's just the thing.
But yes, I have nothing else to say for this episode on this subject, other than we planned to have a second episode of Fleetcast today, but I am absolutely cream crackered. So we are going to do that episode tomorrow. We're going to review the episode, The Practical Joker. Is that it? Practical Trickster?
Yes, The Practical Joker, which, as I said earlier, has an interesting reference to this episode, in that they both have fog on the Enterprise.
Yes. So I think our things have all lined up. I am going to go take a 15-minute break, and then if anyone does want to join for the movie, I will put the movie on YouTube on one of our voice chats, and we can just discuss this fan-made movie, which has something like 5.5 million views. But yeah, until then, stay lovely, stay logical, stay safe, and don't fall for any lust vampires.
Yes.
Please do.
Do not fall for space lust vampires.
Until next time, bye-bye.
Yes, live long and prosper, my friend.
In the vastness of the stars we roam, Obsidian Fleet, our eternal home. With stories untold, adventures so grand, together we journey.